Hey everyone, welcome to the first official episode of Boba and Friends. We had one test run where we just never recorded. So, I mean, that's what the test run was for. Now we know, press record. I'm Kat.
I'm Fifi.
And today we're going to be eating a little bit of hot pot and talking about some scammy stories. Well, just the one today. And, of course, we have to honor the channel's name and have a little bit of boba. So we got Ding Tea today.
Mm-hmm.
I got their Monster Boba Latte, which I think is just milk and sugar.
It's basically milk and brown sugar.
Yeah.
Brown sugar syrup.
It's really good.
She also got egg pudding in it.
Yeah, I was trying to be a little different. She got the boba, though, for Boba and Friends.
I got the hazelnut milk tea with the golden boba.
Yeah. So now we have the boba, we just need the Friends part. Where we need some of those. Anyways. So, yeah, today we have some homemade hot pot that I graciously slaved over and made. I just came over and she made it all. Okay, so what do we got? Is it even ready?
Yeah, it's ready.
Okay, good.
I mean, most of it's already cooked. So, for those who don't know what hot pot is,
Oh,
it's
that's true. I didn't
yeah,
say.
it's an Asian cuisine. I think it originated in China. I'm pretty sure. And basically, you just cook raw food in a boiling pot. It sounds weird, but it's really good. You just have to, it's an experience really. And it's more like social eating because while you're waiting for it to cook, you're also like socializing
Talking.
with your friends and stuff.
Spilling tea, all that stuff. I think I had hot pot for the first time like 2 years ago.
Was I the one that introduced it to the group?
I think so. After that, I haven't stopped eating it. It's so good. It's just, you do do have to wait a little bit, but it's worth the wait. But in the meantime, while we wait, we also got some little popcorn chicken from Ding Tea.
Yeah. Basically,
So
this is
good.
like the Asian version of popcorn chicken.
It's got some spice. Even when you say not spicy, it's still got some spice. Like a little bit. It's so good though.
You just fry it really differently from like, American popcorn chicken.
It sure does not taste like McDonald's.
Because I don't think they use ground chicken. Because in popcorn chicken you use ground chicken, right? They ground it up. This one they cut it into like bits, bite-sized chunks.
I just eat it. I don't ask too many questions.
Yep.
So that's my lifestyle. Today we're going to be using our super cute cutlery that we got from Amazon. It's just like some little rainbow chopsticks.
Oh no, I dropped mine. But yeah, it's like rainbow cutlery.
It comes in a little pack with like chopsticks, a metal spoon, a knife, a straw, a
2
fork
straws.
that I lost. Okay, a fork and a straw that I lost already.
Oh my god.
And it comes like in a cute travel case, so you can take it to school or to work or wherever. You can help the environment and be bougie. Okay, so what do you think you'll start out with today? For the hot
Oh, for the hot, I was like story or
hot pot. Story we'll get to in a second. Gotta eat first. First, let's put the noodles in. How about that?
you want the noodle?
Yeah.
Glass noodles or regular ones?
Do a little bit of both.
Use the ladle.
Yeah,
We're
you're
just
right.
gonna go everywhere.
She knows me. Okay, so these are glass noodles. They kind of just clear noodles. It's the best explanation I have.
We call it clear or glass noodles. No, you put it in the ladle and eat it.
Oh, my bad. Try not to.
That's why she needs extra supervision.
Yeah, she's the cook out of both of us. I don't know what I provide.
She'll be researching the stories mostly. in
You
the
guys are in
future.
for a good time. My bad.
That's fine.
It's not fun.
It's not.
It's really not.
Just make sure.
They're gonna be like, blink twice if you're okay. I'm okay, I promise. Okay, let me start with some fish cake then, since I've lost the glass noodles. Oh,
Just ignore that.
yep. I'm shy. So what is fish cake?
Well, that's just tempura, really. I don't know.
It's
It's
just
called
fried fish?
Japanese. Yeah, I think it's fish cake.
It's good.
Yeah, it might be fish cake. On the packaging, it just says Japanese tempura thing. I'm having a white radish.
That's kind of the best hot pot where you just throw a mishmash of stuff and then figure out later what you're eating.
It's basically anything you like. You could just throw it in. and cook it. As long as you make sure it cooks fast.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Can't put like thick cuts of meat in there, it won't work.
Yeah. There's like specific types of meat where it's like really thinly sliced so that it cooks in seconds. So this is beef.
Beef. I think beef and lamb are super popular.
Beef, lamb, there's pork. I'm not big on the pork. It's not that good. But I like the thin sliced beef and lamb. I know it looks weird with raw food and cooked food. You know, some people get a little
Are you
squeamish.
supposed to be using the same chopsticks? I don't know.
Well, it's because it.
When you dip
When
it in
you dip it in here, it's like boiling hot, so it kind of like already disinfects your chopsticks.
True. And I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of like hot pot etiquette rules we're not following. Like you're supposed to have like specific serving chopsticks and stuff, but
Like,
we just,
at restaurants they have like tongs
right?
to like pick up the meat and stuff. But it is homemade hot
And
pot,
we've shared so much stuff in the past. At this point. It's like we're okay. I hope
during this pandemic.
we're okay.
Also, like just normal stuff like carrots is good too.
Yeah, I don't really eat the vegetables.
Yeah.
She's for her. There's some cabbage though. I've been digging the cabbage in the soups, you know. It took me.
surprising.
I know it took me a long time to warm up. To
You're
the
always
cabbage.
like, ugh, Fifi and her cabbage. Whenever I
Yeah.
order at a restaurant, she's like, here's your cabbage.
Like, why are you
Disgusting
ordering
tone.
this? Why are we ordering this? I wouldn't even eat it if it's free. But I'm growing to it. I'll eat it now if it's free. I still won't order it myself, but if it's free, I'll get it. Yeah.
It comes with the buffet. Like when you go to a hot pot restaurant, it's usually like a
yeah.
buffet style. So you pay like one price and you can eat and everything basically. But still, she won't order cabbage.
I'm just saying, you're paying like $25 to $30 a person. I'm gonna go for the meat and get my money's worth. This milk and brown sugar, so good. I should have gotten the large.
I also got a mushroom here. It's just normal white button mushrooms.
Let's put the ramen noodles in.
You didn't even get your glass noodles.
I lost them in there. Yeah. So that's why she was saying just put them in the ladle and like dip them. Because then they get lost. There.
Yeah, they're just gone. I can't.
Yeah.
I know my chopstick skills aren't that good enough to like. Glass noodles are like the.
They're super hard to pick up.
They're super slippery.
Yeah.
And you just lost.
Yeah. We'll find them eventually. They'll come out later. See? They'll come out whenever I get food. See, they're all cooked now. They look more like glass.
Now this is the adomi noodles we're using. We really love this type of
Yeah,
noodle.
we love these.
I think it's because they fry it beforehand.
Do they?
Yeah, that's what my mom says, is that they fry it beforehand. So that might be why it's so delicious.
It's really good. I highly recommend if you haven't tried these.
Okay,
So
should we
the
get
hot pot,
into...
yeah, I just wanted one more thing. The hot pot is already seasoned, so you just take whatever noodles you want from whatever instant ramen packet. We're just eating the noodles. We're not using the seasonings.
Dixon?
All right, let's jump right into the story. It starts right in 1953 in the city of Dixon, which I read is like 20 miles or so outside of Chicago.
Yeah, southwest or south east of Chicago.
20 miles
Either way.
outside of Chicago. So, Rita Humphrey is born to her parents. Her parents own a farm. They're not rich, but they're not what you would call poor either. They still own a farm. So she grew up on that farm. And once she hit high school, everybody knew her as a responsible teenager. She was an honor roll student. She got straight A's. So a year or so before graduating, she was offered a study and work internship at the mayor's office. So she did that. She interned. She liked it.
Mainly working in the finance department, right? Just helping with...
Whatever interns do.
Get coffee.
We've been interns ourselves, so we're not just shitting on the interns. We were there. We got the coffee. We still do. She did that for some time. She decided she liked it, so she decided she would stay. And she stayed there for, I think in the long run, it was over 3 decades. but it took her about 10 years to become the city's comptroller, which basically means she ran all the finances for them because they were a very small.
Basically, she's like the head honcho over all their finance stuff.
So she was running the books for them. She was setting up the bank accounts, paying everybody that needs to be paid, and then at the end, she would make the financial statements for the city and give it to the mayor or whoever's going to look over it. Oh, so good. So it wasn't until 1990 when she got a little bold and bored in her position. And she's been there since the 70s, so she's been there a while. And she got a little bored and she decided she would open up a secret bank account for the city. But she was the only authorized signer on that bank account. She just opened it up with the same bank that the city used. And she named it something that sounds like it would be a city account, like Reserve Capital Fund. Something that had a similar tone to all the other bank account names. So she opened that in 1990, and she didn't really do anything with it in 1990. I guess she must have been feeling quite a rush, though. Like, she just opened up this secret account, baby steps.
And no one caught on.
Yeah. So it wasn't until 1991 when she decided she would start embezzling money into that fund. So the first year, they say she stole $181,000, which is a lot today in 2020. Imagine in, was it 1991? That's a lot of money. Okay. And her reported salary was, I think it was around $80,000.
It was $80,000.
But I'm not sure if that was $80,000 in the 90s or in the mid 2000s. It was at least above $50,000 in the 90s, which is...
She still, like, was making good money.
Yeah, that's a good
than
amount.
most, than average American.
That's a lot of money. So she was doing all right for herself, but she needed more money.
But she wanted more. She wanted more.
You're right. She didn't need that money. And can you tell them why she wanted more money? What she was trying to fund?
She has this very peculiar hobby. She bred and raised horses for these competitions. I don't know the specific word for it. Is it equestrian? Equestrian?
Equestrian?
Yeah.
Okay, we both can't speak today. Equestrian.
Like this hobby or something?
Yeah. It was her. Yeah, I think it was in her family in the past, and she was trying to revive it. But, I mean, I think having a dog is an expense. Imagine having a horse.
Tons of horses. Like, she bought and bred a lot of horses for these competitions.
She started out small with 1 horse, 2 horses here. And then eventually she had, how many horses?
I'm not sure, actually. Hundreds of them.
She had
I know I reached hundreds, probably.
Over 100 horses, and some of these horses were expensive. Like, we're talking 6 figures. More than my life, probably. They were expensive as horses.
She stole enough money where she made her own business, like horse business. Where she made, like, bred the best horses.
So she accumulated over 100 of these expensive horses. And she started taking them to shows, and she started winning. She started getting some notoriety.
She's actually very famous in the horse community. Yeah, she's pretty well known.
So people were starting to notice that she had some money, because these horses weren't cheap to keep. She had her family's farm. It was a very modest home there, but she started making all these renovations, entirely remodeling the house, doubling the size of the house by the early 2000s. And she built a really big, it's kind of like a mini arena for the horses, for all their stalls and for them to like practice. There was an office in there.
And it wasn't just the horses she was spending money on. She was also like buying a luxury home. She bought like a really high-end RV.
Yeah,
that they call like a motorhome.
This RV is so bougie, they call it a motorhome. It was reported to have cost $2.1 million. Yeah. Because she was traveling so much for her horses, she needed to travel in style, of course.
And she had 2 homes, one in Dixon and then another one in Florida.
So obviously people would start to notice and be like, how are you affording this on a
$80,000 salary?
Yeah, comptroller salary. So she had led people to believe that she had inherited some of her wealth from her family. And she also led them to believe that it was all the money she was making from the horses. Which honestly, I don't think she would make that much money off the horses, because the horses cost a lot to maintain. They're expensive. They have to be fed well. They have to be taken care of. These vet bills, they have to be moved. So she had these giant, like 18-wheelers just to move the horses around. It's an expensive hobby, which partly what fueled her motivation for the fraud.
But people bought that because she opened this great horse business. That's where she's getting all the money from.
So people were buying that because Rita also had a really good reputation, because she was what everybody would think of as a hard worker. She'd been with the city for over 20 years at this point. She was always trying to take care of everything by herself. She was what they would call a workaholic. Little did they know, she just didn't want anybody else doing things because she didn't want them to see. And the way she did it was, she has control of all the bank accounts. So she would take money from the legitimate bank accounts and transfer them over to her fake one, and then from her fake account, she'd use the money there to, like, fund her expensive lifestyle.
So her excuse is she would make it out to treasure, and then it was almost seemed like they're paying to, I think, the state government for projects that the projects that Dixon won, like new roads, better maintenance on buildings.
That was how she got away with it for so long too.
So they thought all these money that was getting deposited, that was getting transferred out, was for all these projects that were supposed to be for the city. But of course,
she rarely went all the way though. She made fake invoices, and she would just explain things away because she was Rita.
And they trusted her. Everybody trusted her.
She was she particularly wasn't audited, but the city had an audit going on ever since she started working there, actually. The firm was called, I believe they were called Clifton, Larson, and Allen. They were the auditors for a really long time until they started doing other services for the city, such as bookkeeping. I think at one point they were even doing Rita's tax return, which is kind of like, I guess they don't share that information, but it would have been suspicious to see, like, this is how much money you're making, how are you affording all this?
Exactly.
I guess they don't share that between departments, but suspicious. So they never caught it because they would just not really bother to look into it too much. I guess they just took her word, and after a certain point, they weren't even the auditors, which means it wasn't their particular job to find it. They passed it on to a single CPA, and he was the one that would sign off on the financials and say everything was okay, because they were no longer independent, so they couldn't be their auditors. So they passed it on to somebody named, I think his name was Samuel Card. He was a small CPA owner. So these horses, she gave them really interesting names. She had one named Potential Fortune, Have Faith in the Money, and I Found a Penny.
It's almost like she was like
taunting them,
like, ha ha ha, these are horses bought from your money.
Yeah, like, I found a penny. I think you found a little bit more than a penny in the rain. So it wasn't around until 2011 when she decided to take an extended vacation that everything would start to crumble around her. The city clerk was left in charge in her wake. Her name was Kathy Swanson. Oh, I forgot to mention, Rita Humphrey. She was born Rita Humphrey, but around, I think, the late 70s, she married her husband, who gave her the name of Crundwell. Crundwell. So she's, if you look her up or research her everywhere, she's known as Rita Crundwell. Yeah. Even though she divorced him later, I guess she kept the name. Anyways, so the city clerk, Kathy Swanson, which totally reminds me of Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec. Did anybody watch that? I love that show. It's pretty funny. Anyways, Unrelated.
Unrelated note.
Yeah. So Kathy Swanson's a city clerk, and she was trying to prepare the financials for that month, but she couldn't find the bank financial statements. Oh, thank you. She couldn't find the bank's financial statements, which she found really weird because you need the financial statements. They should be around. It's kind of important. So,
like just basic bank statements she couldn't find.
Yeah, like that's really weird. If you think about your own bank statement or business bank statements, they're around. They should be easy to pull up. Especially this was around 2011. Online banking was a thing by now. But
here's the thing about that online banking. Rita never like created an account or like made online banking for their accounts.
She never set it up.
Mm-hmm.
Again, so she could be one of the only ones with the access to the bank accounts.
The reason why Kathy couldn't find these bank statements was Rita made sure that she was always the one opening the mail and seeing the bank statements first. She made sure no one else saw the bank statements. And if she was away, she made sure that a relative or like a close coworker would pick up the mail for her and give it to her. That's how she was able to keep people from ever seeing the bank statements and noticing that fake account. But I guess this time she dropped the ball with the extended vacation.
She got too confident.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kathy gets frustrated because she has to do her job, obviously. So she calls up the bank account. She calls up the bank, which is really important to how everything got caught. Which in the past, she said if Rita asked her to look for any of the bank accounts, like get them from the bank, she would tell her, okay, make it easy for the bank. Just email them the bank account numbers and ask them for those accounts. Okay, so this time when Kathy called the bank, she was already kind of frustrated. So she was like, you know what? Just give me all the bank account statements for the city of Dixon. Just give them to me all. Send them to me right now. 5 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm sure she was nicer than that.
No, that was her direct quote, was that she called the bank. She's like, give me all the bank statements in 5 minutes right now. I guess she was just so annoyed of not being able to get everything and get the report done for the committee.
All right, Kathy.
Mm-hmm.
So, 5 minutes, they fax her these statements, and she notices there's one account she's never heard of before. So immediately, she's on alert. She's like, what is this? And if you look at the bank account statements, the transfers and stuff are really high. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars at once in one transfer.
The most recent deposit she saw was like, one was $200,000, the other was $300,000, and the other was $500,000.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for a city whose annual budget is about $9 million, and they always came in deficits.
Mm-hmm.
So she starts looking into it, and she said one of the things that let her know it was a scam was that there was charges for fuel in that account, and the city has their own fuel pumps they get, so there would be no charges for fuel in those accounts. Mm-hmm. So she sits on it for 2 days, trying to come up, get her thoughts together. And then she goes right to the mayor of the city of Dixon. And
what was funny before she went to her? She put the bank statements in her car, like dashboard thing, right? Or no, not dashboard. The little compartment. Yeah, the glove compartment. Because she was just so frazzled, I guess, of the finding. So she just put it in her car, and she was just like, I need to think about this.
Understandable.
And then after a few days, she went to
the mayor, and together they decide what to do, and the mayor decides to contact the FBI. And they started a 6-month investigation.
So during that time, Kathy had to act all normal when Rita came back. And they just wanted, I don't know if the FBI told them outright, just, act normal.
Yeah, they had to act normal while the FBI was able to gather everything. Because if they let Rita know that they knew, she could hide evidence and cover up their stuff before they got to it. Mm-hmm. So during those 6 months, she couldn't tell a soul, and she said it really took a toll on her. I guess it must be really hard. You can't share your secret with anybody, and she had to keep it in.
She had to hide it from her husband, from her kids, who were college age or something. So basically, she couldn't tell anyone. It was just her and the mayor that knew about it, and they couldn't really, talk about it freely.
Yeah. So this was really hard for Kathy, and she stepped up to do it.
Mm-hmm. During the 6 months, she just felt really anxious because Rita's always there. And then there was one article I read where when Rita went to get lunch, Kathy would look at the books that's in her desk to see like how much else money that she was taking, and she would bring it up to the mayor. It was kind of their way of getting more evidence for the FBI.
So 6 months passed, and boom, April 17th of 2012, FBI is ready to make an arrest. They walk into the City of Dixon's office and they arrest Rita. She immediately confesses to everything, and they take her out in handcuffs. Her trial wasn't, I don't think it was super long, was it?
One thing about her arrest.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was reading an article kind of from Kathy's point of view.
Yeah.
So on the day of the arrest, Kathy was getting fed up. Like, she was getting too stressed out with trying to act like everything's normal when it's not. And the mayor's like, don't worry. Today's the day they're coming to arrest her.
Mm-hmm.
And so the FBI, 2-man suits came, FBI agents came, went to the mayor's office. And then Rita finally came in the morning. And the mayor's like, oh, Rita, come into my office or something I need to talk about. He steps out, and she's left with the 2 agents. And that's when she confessed everything. And they're finally going to arrest her. One of the agents actually came out and asked Kathy, is there a back entrance for them to take her out? Because they're not going to, like, parade her and do a whole show about it. Kathy said that there was, like, a petty side of her that wanted to say, no, there isn't a back entrance. She wanted to see Rita getting paraded out through the front entrance. But she was, there's a back entrance through the garage or something.
Glass noodles done right. Sorry. Just hold them there. So they arrest Rita. And through the investigation, they found that she had embezzled over $53 million from the city in over 20 years. Which is a ton of money if you think about it, because this is a small city. Their budget was about $9 million a year, I'd say. So this affected the city a lot. During Rita's tenure as comptroller, only about 65 of the town's roads ever got fixed. And they had to lay off a lot of employees just to be able to keep the city up and running, all because she was stealing money. The police department couldn't afford to get new radios. So it wasn't just the people who Rita stole the money from, like the job.
It wasn't just the state and government. This was affecting everyday people's jobs and livelihoods.
Yeah. So her fraud is slightly more disgusting because a lot of people got laid off because of it. You know, that must be tough on families, parents just trying to make ends meet. So obviously they weren't going to take it easy on her, especially when you steal from the government.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't just a regular blue-collar crime. Is it white-collar or blue-collar?
White-collar.
No, white-collar crime. So she was sentenced to 19 and a half years of prison, and they fined her $250,000. And obviously she had to give up all of her assets because she stole them.
Mm-hmm. So they had to like liquefy all her assets to try and recover as much as they could. I think I read that they recovered up to $40 million, which isn't too bad because a lot of these cases, a lot of times they can't recover even half the amount that they stole because it's usually already spent on stuff that's like has less value now.
That's one thing.
Or
her
it's just
horses were at
gone.
least worth money.
Mm-hmm. A lot of stuff that she had were at least worth money and could be auctioned off.
Yeah, she didn't spend it on something that was like just
like
would
food
devalue,
or something.
trips or something like that. You know, stuff you can't get the money back on. So the city of Dixon not only sued their auditors, but they also sued the bank. And I think from them they were able to recover about $30 million. I think that's what I read. It was around there. So they're doing okay, I think, now. But that was the scam of Rita Crundwell.
Do you want to talk about some of the auction items?
Oh yeah, let's talk about some of the auction items. I think you can do that part.
So like the horses were definitely auctioned off. Like this was big. A lot of like bidders and buyers were all like swarming the
from all over the
courthouse
country or Canada. Mm-hmm.
Oh no, it was a hotel. They had it at a hotel, and they swarmed a hotel. And there's like lines outside and everything trying to get like Rita's horses and stuff.
Because these were prize horses. They were good.
Like they were winners. All these like
competitions.
competitions and stuff. And I think the most a horse got auctioned off was like $720,000, $29,000. There's also like personal stuff that got like auctioned off, like her handbags, her luxury handbags, shoes, all that stuff. Even her awards got auctioned off. I don't know why somebody would want to buy that, but her awards got
So that's kind of it for today's video. I know our storytelling isn't like super perfect or that great at all, but you know, it's just, I guess we just started this to have a good time together, eat good food, tell stories of things we like. We like true crime a lot and just interesting things. It's just so weird to see how people's minds work like that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so if you're interested in food, true crime, listening to two idiots talk about crap, join us. And Boba.
Yeah.
Most important thing.
Go ahead and like and subscribe. I feel so silly saying that, like all the videos I watch. But yeah, do it, please. And that's it for today's episode. See y'all next time with more Boba and Friends.